What's up, everyone? They let us get to Friday again. That means it's time for another episode of TheLeaf podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking about a little variety of things. I have an update on an encounter that was sent to me a while ago, and we're going to talk about some strange upticks in cryptid sightings around Lake Michigan starting in 2017. A lot of them seem to be winged humanoids or Mothman sightings, so we're going to get into that. And of course, as always, if anything else comes up, we're going to talk about that too. But first off, we're going to talk about this update that I got. A longtime viewer of the channel, Anne, sent in an encounter a while ago of a crawler that was around her house or the general area, and things have gotten a little heightened since the last time we spoke. So I believe it was in a compilation video that she had heard her encounter again on the channel. And that's when she said that she decided to give me an update. She says that I have only seen the crawler one more time other than the time I told you about. It was probably 6 months ago, and it was on the other side of the chain link fence I told you about. So it wasn't in the field where our original encounter took place, but on the wetland side. And I saw it for a split second, and it was gone. But it was the same type of day, dusk, that our original encounter took place. And then she says that I don't 100% know that if the crawler is responsible for these occurrences, as I didn't actually see it, but I have heard something banging on the walls of my house at night, almost like it's trying to mimic the sound of my dryer, but it just couldn't seem to get the rhythm correct. I have heard walking on my roof at night quite a few times. It's always at night. The door to my backyard has been ripped off its hinges, to the point it ripped the siding on the house as well. Again, I don't definitely know that it's the crawler because I have not seen it, but it's weird nonetheless. The weirdest thing to me is that when we originally discussed my encounter, I told you how much wildlife was around our house. Well, since the original encounter, in August of 2020, the amount of wildlife has dropped down to absolutely nothing. We don't see deer, squirrels, coyotes, hares, anything anymore. Now I don't know if that's because there's an apex predator in the vicinity and they're just staying away, or if it's because it's decimated the population of animals in the area. My cats, who used to enjoy going out into the yard and hanging around the house, only go out to use the bathroom and then they come right back in. Last week, my oldest cat, my heart and soul, went missing. He wanted to go out to the bathroom at 3:30 in the morning last Sunday, and I waited because he usually goes out and does his business and comes right back in. But he never came home. I don't know if it was the crawler, but I know that there's no predators around here anymore, and we barely have any car traffic. So where did he go? I'm absolutely devastated, but I'm still holding out hope. My daughter has also heard some weird noises outside her room as well, and it's freaked her out to the point that she's poured a salt line on her windowsills and her door to the outside. So after reading this email, I did wait a few days to try and figure out just what I should say, and I ended up replying with an email that goes like this. Hey, thanks for your continued support of the channel. We had talked about this earlier in the email and I just omitted that part. And happy holidays to you too. That's so sad to hear about your cat, first of all. I'm also very sorry to hear that whatever this thing is still harassing you and hanging around your property. It's indeed very weird that all the animals have disappeared from the area as well. It's also extremely odd about the door being ripped off its hinges and the noises against your house and on the roof. And then I said that the salt line is a good idea, and I asked her if she had done any kind of blessing on the property or the house, because that's the one thing that's my first go-to, is have you done a blessing? Is your house blessed? Is your property blessed? And if you're wondering why that is, then it's just kind of how I grew up, where I grew up. It's a big thing to have your property blessed and your house blessed. It usually keeps away a lot of negative things like this. My experience with anything crawler related is also personally not really existent. I have none. I only have what I read, and I only have what I know, and that's to do a blessing. So we talked a bit, and we decided that it would be best to ask all of you what to do. Again, she's not 100% sure that it is a crawler doing all this, but it is a little weird having something on her roof, something banging against her house, and having actually seen it 6 months prior. So, what do you think that she should do? Because, again, like I said, my experience with this, besides what I read, and I don't want to give anybody wrong information on things like this. So if anybody that watches the channel or watches the video knows something, then please leave it down below in the comments. Or if you have something similar that you've experienced and how you fixed the problem or how you dealt with it, let us know down in the comments, because I'm very curious about this too. And I wish that there was more I could do to help, but like I said, I lack the experience to do that. And I also hope that your cat comes back, because I know how close you can be with cats, and it sucks to lose one. But, again, do you think that a blessing is a good idea? Do you think that blessing your property and house would help this issue? Let us know down in the comments. And it is also the possibility that there is some kind of different apex predator that's around the area that has now scared off all the wildlife. But I do hope that something good comes out of this and that your cat comes back. Now, as I said in the intro, there was a lot of uptick in cryptid encounters, cryptid sightings of winged creatures in and around Lake Michigan. So I don't exactly remember how I came across this article, but I believe it was originally in the Chicago Tribune. And then that linked me to a website called the Singular 14, which seems to have chronicled all of the winged humanoid Mothman sightings in and around Lake Michigan. Now, it goes back all the way to the 1950s, I believe. Yeah, winter 1957. And then after that, we go from 1957 to 1969, 71, 76, 81, and then 87, 97, and we get into the 2000s. It's usually one sighting every so often, every few years, and then all of a sudden, in 2017, starting on February 8th, 2017, a man is driving on Interstate 294. He reported seeing what he thinks is a person turning into a large black bird. I'm going to talk about a few of these encounters. I'm also going to link this website down below so that you can see it as well. To go along with this, there is also this huge map. I think it's a custom Google map. I don't know how to do that, so props to Lon Strickler, I think is the guy who did this. I'll link the map down below too, as well as put a picture of it here, so you can see just how many encounters there are. But this very first one, from February 8th, 2017, it was just after midnight. It says, my husband John, who is a huge skeptic and doesn't usually believe in stuff like this, was just driving home in the dark, and he saw what he thought was a person running on two legs across the highway, and then it turned into a giant black bird and flew away. He swears it was running on two legs, and that it was the biggest bird he had ever saw, flying with long legs. And then following that, March 16th, 2017, a witness reports a large winged being perched on top of a roof in the Tinley Park suburb of Chicago. We go to the March 22nd one. A semi-truck driver reports suffering from medical problems after seeing a flying humanoid soaring over a Chicago expressway. And then they continue into April 10th, mid-April, April 15th and 16th, April 17th, where a woman says she saw a hulking, hunched-over winged being across the street as she was taking out the garbage. April 27th, a man is fishing with his son on the banks of the Little Calumet in Chicago. They see weird winged being after hearing an eerie, unexplained sound. We go into May. A man and his son report a bat-like creature while out walking in Calumet Park. And then, less than a week later, a family walking along the riverfront sees a flying humanoid. We can go into June. There's many encounters in June as well, the 3rd, the 17th, the 23rd, the 29th, where a police officer, along with the officer's partner and a group of civilians, see a dark black shadow with wings standing atop a building before taking flight in the Auburn-Gresham neighborhood of Chicago. And then the sightings continue all through the summer, into the fall, into the winter, and then into 2018. And it seems like it almost becomes a routine to have sightings like this. We go into 2019, into 2020, and in around 2024, late 2023, they begin to slow down. So I decided to look up, was there any event in specific that happened in 2017 around Lake Michigan? And the only one that I found that kind of piqued my interest was that there was a meteor that crashed there. Other than that, I couldn't find any huge event that really would warrant so many sightings of something that is usually seen as a harbinger of doom. So again, this is where I put the question to you. What do you think is going on around this area of Lake Michigan? Do you think it has something to do with the meteorite, or do you think there's something else going around there? Because I just did like a typical Google search to try and find anything, and I didn't really find a whole lot. I don't know if that came up on the mic, but my cat just meowed at me, so apparently she knows what's going on. But what is it that you think is? So many sightings in such a condensed area, well over 150. And not only that, but from 2017 to now, that's over 7 years. Now I have heard stories about Lake Michigan being home to a lot of UFO activity, UFOs rising up out of the water, and supposedly there being underground bases, but I don't have any of those stories to really talk about on this episode of the podcast. I just mean that I have heard them before, and I think all of you had too. So if you have any theories as to what's going on, be sure to let me know down in the comments. I'm curious to know what you all think. And while I'm here talking about it, I did manage to look up some UFO encounters from Michigan. There wasn't a whole lot from Lake Michigan, maybe 2 from 2017, but when I look at Michigan as a whole, there's quite a few. A lot of them are just general, I saw this in the sky, I saw lights in the sky that vanished. But there's this one, in particular, from October 29th, 2017. A 4,000-foot-long string of 11 red flashing lights, stationary, north of Whitefish Port, Michigan. I know that's more Lake Superior than Lake Michigan, but it's still very weird, isn't it? In fact, all the Great Lakes have something weird going on around them. Lots of UFOs, and if you go back in history, lots of sightings and encounters with sea serpents, or creatures of some sort. In fact, now that I think of it, maybe sometime I could do a video on the Great Lakes. That'd probably be pretty interesting. And with that, I know this one's a little bit shorter, but I think I'll let it go here. If you enjoyed the video, enjoyed me rambling on for 15 minutes, then be sure to like and subscribe. To check out the video that I posted on Wednesday, which was a video on Canada. It was a compilation video. And the video on Sunday is going to be about tales from the backwoods. So make sure that you tune in for those, because they're pretty great. I think they are anyways. So yeah, if you like the video, like and subscribe, share it with everybody, or whoever you want to. You can share it with yourself, as long as you share it with somebody, I guess. But yeah, I hope you had a good week, and if you didn't, I hope your weekend and the next week is better. So, I hope you have a good weekend as well. And with that, I think I'll end it off here. Thank you for pulling up a stump with me. Thank you for watching, and make sure to check out the video on Sunday. I'll see you then.